Hey everybody, welcome back to the Porter Says podcast with your host and only host Heath, of course. Thanks so much for tuning in once again. It's a brand new episode, so let's get into it. You know, I always like to try and get into it as quick as possible. The more and more I do this podcast, I don't want to waste too much time because I know not too many people. I was about to say, no, I don't know. I was about to say something that sounded insulting about, like, your guys' attention spans. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna say anything like that. I just personally have a feeling that not many people can only sit down for so long and watch something, and since it's just me in this podcast and I don't have a guest or like a co-host or anything at this point, and I'm not really interested in that just yet. I feel like I might wait until this is further in, like, you know, maybe episode... I don't even know. Maybe when I'm, like, close to 100 or something, I'll do something big. Maybe. Nearly at 30, which is pretty cool, so I'll take that. What's Porter doing? Is Porter... Okay, alright. So... with this one, I'm going to be discussing a couple of movies and some news. 2 new trailers came out in the past couple of days. Actually 3, really. So I guess I will start with the 3 trailers. You know, the news trailers, whatever you want to call this segment. And again, if you do hear Porter snoring, I'm pretty sure on the last one you couldn't, but it's kind of distracting for me personally, because he's just a pain in my ass most of the time. Okay, so the trailers. So we have the Black Phone 2 and Megan 2.0. I'll start with Megan and go up from there. So, this new trailer of Megan 2.0 really shows even more action in this one, that it's really kind of stepping away from well, it's not stepping away from the horror, but it's leaning more towards being an action film. I would consider it maybe action horror, where action is coming first and then horror is going to be there. With this trailer, I'm definitely looking more forward to it. I can understand why some people will go, why are we not retaining the horror from the last one? But to be fair, with the first Megan movie, the movie itself wasn't really that scary. When I saw it, it was just like the Megan doll herself that kind of freaked me out a bit. So I kind of like the fact that this one's leaning more towards being a bit more action oriented. So I guess we'll see in due time. I believe it was the final trailer, so that means its release might be pretty close, actually. So I will be reviewing that, hopefully. So that's cool, you know? That's really cool. It does look like a lot of fun. I'll be there for it. Then you had the Black Phone 2, which at first, the idea of a Black Phone sequel, you really didn't need it. But after seeing, I think they released like 2 little teaser trailers for some reason. And then I'm like, okay. And then they released official trailer. I'm like, well, isn't this... I started watching it, I'm like, well, isn't this just the same thing? But no. It shows a lot more than we were expecting. A lot more. Yeah, this movie does look pretty cool. This looks like it's going to be a good horror sequel, expanding a little bit more from the first one. At least I hope it does. You got Mason Thames coming back, which I was very surprised. You obviously got Ethan Hawke coming back as the Grabber, because that was his villainous role in the first movie. Spoiler alert for the first movie. Just putting it out there. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. So before you continue to watch this, maybe go and watch the first movie. So, because it's a great horror flick. With the end of the first movie, Mason Thames' character obviously gets, escapes from the grabber, not before obviously killing him in a somewhat brutal way. Well, not brutal, but, I think it was like him strangling or something. I've only seen it once. I need to go back and rewatch it. But it ends with that. So I think in this one, it kind of looks like they're leaning into him being more of like a ghost, obviously, or like a demon or something. So I'm more excited for the Black Phone 2 than I am Megan 2.0. But, it's pretty cool that we got, at least at this point, you got 2 horror sequels that are coming out this year. Maybe there's been another one, but I don't remember. I think these are the only 2 I know. And the Black Phone 2 is scheduled to be released in October. I think just a couple of days before my birthday. So I can't wait. Okay, so the biggest piece of news and kind of like a trailer date announcement. Netflix had their Tudum award show on Netflix recently, and they released a little, very kind of small teaser trailer and obviously announced the dates of the final season of Stranger Things. Stranger Things Season 5. Finally, we got some new footage in this one. This trailer that they release is kind of a bit of a recap, really. It shows footage from like the first 4 seasons. The trailer starts with a scene between Will and Joyce is saying, look, I think about that night every day. The night that the creature, the Demogorgon, came for you. And then the trailer proceeds to show footage from the previous seasons, kind of, with a bit of narration from Will, which I'm guessing is in this season. And then it cuts to like little flashes of, of what we're going to expect in this new season of Stranger Things. The biggest thing I want to talk about, though, is at the end of the trailer, they show Will, and it's a close-up shot of him going, run, run. So it's needless to say that he's either being possessed by Vecna, because obviously he was not defeated in the last one, or he's he's going to maybe sacrifice himself, and I think there was like leaked audio or leaked footage or something of that saying, of Will Byers saying to Steve, you need to run. So I have a feeling, and I don't like to think about that stuff, that maybe Steve, potentially his character could end up dying. I personally think that as much as I really like the character of Will, it does make a lot of sense that they could potentially kill him off as like a big final sacrifice or something. Because, the show basically started with him. Why not end it that way, And I think a lot of people do say that when it comes to shows or movies with certain characters, but I think I like that idea. I do like that idea as much as I really like the character. In terms of the release dates, it's being split into 3 volumes, so 3 parts, not too apart from each other though. Like they're very close. So volume 1 will be released on November 26th of this year. And then you've got the next part on Christmas. I don't know if it's Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. And then the finale will be New Year's Eve. And I think it's safe to say I don't think I'll be doing too much for the holidays. I think Stranger Things will be a main thing for me because I love this show so much. And even though it's really sad that it's coming to an end, I'm excited to see how they're going to wrap everything up and who's going to live, who's going to die. let me know your predictions and theories down below and all that stuff. And let me know what your favorite season of Stranger Things is and what your least favorite is. So that's Stranger Things season 5 news. I can't wait. If you're excited, let me know down below. I'm very interested to see what you think. Okay, so I guess the last thing is just a couple of the movies. Before I get into that, actually, I do want to say, I know, like, episodes ago, months ago, and I posted stuff on social media that I was going to be doing, like, Patreon stuff, and I released, like, one episode of the Patreon. But then, obviously, since it's been months and months since then, and I know I have promised that a second episode was coming, and I haven't. I think just personally, it's hard for me to kind of balance between doing these main episodes for YouTube and Spotify and then doing the Patreon ones. So I'm not going to get rid of the Patreon, but I am going to probably restart and come up with some other ideas, since I want it to be something that if people are going to be paying for it, and this is something my dad did say, if people are going to be paying for it, then I should, kind of bring something a little bit new than just a regular podcast episode. I know, like, that first one was, like, film discussions, and it was on Narnia, and then the second episode was going to be, like, the Spider-Man movies, but I think, honestly, I might just try and come up with something I, haven't. And if you have any ideas on what I could do, then let me know, because I'm open to any ideas that you guys might have. So yeah, all right. So I just want to get out of the way, since I don't know how many people were really caring about the Patreon stuff, but I just figured I'd mention it because I, wanted to get that off my chest. Okay, so the last bit is the films. So I've got 4 here. I'll start off with The Next Karate Kid, from 1994, Pat Morita and Hilary Swank. Honestly, this one I think is a pretty... it's a bad movie. And the fact there are people saying that Karate Kid Legends is worse than this, and that it's the worst of the series. No, Karate Kid Legends can't be worse than The Next Karate Kid. It just can't. I'm seeing that tonight, and then I think I'm seeing it the next night, so because I'm, like, beyond excited for it. But no, The Next Karate Kid, and I know a lot of people will probably say, oh, it's because it's got a girl and it doesn't have a Daniel LaRusso. It's like, that doesn't matter to me. Like, I kind of liked the idea of having, like, Hilary Swank coming in as this character, as Julie, and being, like, a female Karate Kid. That's cool, but her character doesn't really become likable, and, like, until, like, towards the end of the movie. Like, it takes a while. And even by that point, I don't really care. I think the fight scenes are very just so whatever. They're not good at all. The choreography is pretty bad. The love interest is weak. The villains are beyond terrible. They are just so stereotypical. The saving graces of this movie really is Pat Morita as Mr. Miyagi, and the monk subplot. I think that was, like, because they're hilarious. It's maybe a little bit more comical than the others, I guess, but not by much. So it just lacks charm for me. It doesn't really have that much heart, in my opinion. So if you like it, go for it. But just personally, I'm not a fan. It at one point was my least favorite movie ever. But then I saw something else that was worse. And this one, while still bad, I don't hate it as much as I did in the past. Brand New Day. Brand New Day is the next film that I watched. It's an Australian Aboriginal film, musical, with Jessica Malboy and Ernie Dingo, Missy Higgins, and Jeffrey Rush, as well as many others. the, it's the funny thing about this movie is that I know a lot of people don't like it and say it's very tacky. Sure, it is kind of a tacky Australian movie. The acting isn't the best thing ever, and there's no songs that really stand out, but that's the charm of it. Really, like, I think this movie has a lot of charm. Unlike the last movie I talked about. It's just a fun little Australian flick, you know, and I think that works. I like the songs for what they are, and I like the characters. They're not very like that well written or anything, but I like them, and I think I like the story of the film. Really, I don't know. It's just a fun little Aussie flick that I think if you haven't seen, I'd give it a chance. Like, it's, as I said, it's tacky, it's silly, it's very kind of like cliche and all that. But what movies aren't? What movies aren't cliche and cheesy? There's so many of them, even ones that aren't. You can always find moments like that in any film. So that's my argument against that, really. And I don't think the lip syncing is that bad. I've seen some people say that lip syncing is kind of bad. It's not. I like it. I've seen it a handful of times. I always have fun watching it. It's just, I'm saying it's a good movie. And if you disagree, that's fine. We don't have to like all the same stuff. I shouldn't really have to say that, I guess, but I am. So, I would recommend this one too. Well, I wouldn't recommend Next Karate Kid at all, really, to be honest. Like, there's a couple of things here and there, but this movie, I would. And then the last two, since I'm no longer doing Patreon episodes on these films, obviously I went to as in the last one I mentioned, I went to the Harry Potter exhibition. A couple of days prior, I rewatched The Philosopher's Stone, and my excuse was, I'm going to this exhibition, I want to be in the mood. So I rewatched The Philosopher's Stone, and then a couple of nights ago, I rewatched Chamber of Secrets. My dad and I watch these at least once or twice a year. You guys know that I love this franchise, but these first two movies are so magical and fun, charming. I love all the characters and all that. Like, I love the world of Harry Potter, obviously. Philosopher's Stone is such a great start to the series. It is, as I said, it is, you know, for a lot of movies, it's cheesy. It's a bit dated in a lot of the aspects, especially the CGI. The acting from the kids is not quite there. But even for this first movie, they're still pretty good. Like, there's a lot of scenes where the lines can be off, but, you know, for a lot of them, it was their first movie. So I don't think you can expect too much, really, from them. I think Philosopher's Stone, while it's not my favourite movie of the series, it's the most magical, and it's the most joyful movie. It's more on the lighter side. It's more aimed at kids, really. And the music in this film, you know, John Williams is iconic. He's done so many iconic scores. You can't go wrong with that. And then you get to Chamber of Secrets, which I cannot tell you how much I love this movie, even more than the first one. I think it's a really great sequel. It pretty much kind of follows the same formula and beats as the first movie, but it's just done so much better. It's darker, it's creepier. I like the mystery with the Chamber of Secrets and who is the heir of Slytherin and what's the deal with this diary and who opened the Chamber of Secrets and all that stuff. Bloody garbage, man. Go away. Anyway. I think Chamber of Secrets is so underrated, and it's weird to say that a Harry Potter movie is underrated, but if I'm just going as a Harry Potter movie, I think it's underrated, because most people consider this the worst. A lot of people do, and I don't get why. The only thing I can see is that maybe since it is like the longest film in the series, running at like nearly 3 hours long, it does try and cram a lot of stuff from the book, but also cuts a lot out. Honestly, I don't. That's the only thing I can see is that, yeah, the pacing can be a bit off, but I would probably complain about that if I didn't really like the characters that much. But that's the thing. I like them, so I'm more invested than I usually would be. I think the Quidditch scene in Chamber of Secrets is one of my favorite scenes in like the whole franchise. It's more fun and more exciting than it is in the first movie. The character of Dobby is great. I just wish he showed up more in the films. Gilderoy Lockhart, he's an idiot, but Kenneth Branagh does it so well. I could go on and on. Like, the finale in the Chamber of Secrets is so good, and the basilisk looks awesome and looks pretty good by today's standards. That moment, like, this is a kid's movie, but the moment where Harry stabs the basilisk with the sword of Gryffindor through its head, I'm like, how is this a kid's movie? This is a lot more darker and brutal for a kid's film. But if you go back to the first movie as well, Harry literally, kills the teacher. I mean, yeah, he had Voldemort on the back of his head, but he still kills the teacher by burning him to death with his bare hands. So I don't see how it can be kid friendly sometimes. Like, there's a lot of moments in these first two movies I'm like, how is this for kids? Also, with the second one, if you are afraid of spiders, yeah, good luck. If you haven't seen the Potter movies before and you get to the second movie, yeah, good luck with the spiders, because there's a lot. I don't know. The magical vibes of these first two are done so well. Chamber of Secrets possibly has topped Prisoner of Azkaban finally as my favorite in the franchise. It's always between 2 and 3, like, as my favorite. It depends on what day you ask me, and I think, like, probably as a movie, Prisoner of Azkaban is better because it's, Alfonso Cuarón is a better director than Chris Columbus. But if you're going for more of a magical vibe, I think the magical stuff and elements of Chamber of Secrets are better than the magical elements of Prisoner of Azkaban. So it kind of depends on what you like. So, since you were not getting a Patreon episode of the Potter movies, those are my thoughts on the Philosopher's Stone and Chamber of Secrets. And there we go. That's going to conclude today's episode of the Porter Says podcast with your host and only host, Heath, of course. I want to thank you once again for tuning in, and like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. Check out all my links, down below in the description. Give me your thoughts and opinions on any of the stuff I've talked about and all that. And I guess I will catch you guys next time for when I review Karate Kid Legends. So, again, I'm seeing that tonight. Yeah, have a good rest of your week and weekend. And this should be up on Friday, hopefully. So, yeah, catch you guys next time.